Heading back east, we'll find the area's only first magnitude spring with a history of human settlement that predates the Civil War.
Yeah, Mr. Gaynor, from what I understand, he was a surveyor with General Jackson. And they came through here, and he returned afterwards from the Carolinas, I believe, brought his slaves in, cleared some land, and settled this part of the country in the early 1800s. And it was in the family up until the time H. Holton Harders bought the property, and then he sold us interest in it. This was in the 50s. What attracted us to the property, of course, is the same thing that attracted the Gaynors to the property, is water. And we have a wonderful source of spring water here. In fact, it's a first magnitude spring, the only one in Bay County. Well, through the years, Mr. Harders named it Emerald Springs, and then it's been called Econfina Springs, but the real name of the spring is Gaynor Springs. We had 149 acres on the east side of the creek. We had probably a quarter of a mile of waterfront, which we very seldom used. So we talked to the water management about exchanging the waterfront property on the east side of the creek for about 800 acres, joining us non-waterfront on the west end of our property along Highway 20. But anyway, it enhanced what we're doing here. We're trying to make this more or less a bird game refuge, very light hunting, but pretty much managed hunting. The reason we need to protect these headwaters, it's a vital supply of fresh water for Bay County, Panama City, and etc. We've been in business for over 50 years in Bay County. A lot of the water that we use in Captain Anderson's restaurant on the beach comes from right up here. Off this area right here, there's probably 190 million gallons a day coming out of this area. Just to give you an example, Bay County, Panama City Beach, Mexico Beach, paper mill use approximately 60 million. These type of springs are very rare. They're like jewels in a crown, and they should be protected. But also, the public should be able to use them also. There should be a way of working around it to have public access, supervised access, let the public enjoy it, and it still at the same time protect our resources.
I'm wading in your drinking water on the way to view where the fabulous potable waters of the Floridan aquifer empty into Econfina Creek. I happen to spot a place where the limestone has collapsed because this little creek has dissolved a tunnel, allowing the ceiling to collapse, showing us that creek itself. This is that clear, beautiful, potable water. Many streams like this exist in the limestone, and we'll go shortly and see a huge outflow in a big underground river. Working our way down Econfina Creek, we've seen the sand in which the surficial aquifer is perched that is drained by steephead streams. And then we saw that shelly clay that holds that surficial aquifer up in that sand. Well, now, underlying both the sand and the clay, we see the most important of all the water supply in the drainage, and that is the Floridan aquifer, which is contained in all the conduits and tunnels found in this beautiful limestone you see outcropped all around me. We've come down gradient and down through the earth far enough now to see that limestone. And here we have a beautiful spring emerging. This is discharge that actually worked its way in here from way up gradient in some of those dry lake basins like the Deadening and others. That water worked down, got into the limestone, and is now coming out into Econfina Creek. And ultimately, this is the drinking water for this part of the Northwest Florida Water Management District's holdings. And it's spectacular. And I love it. High limestone hills adjacent to lower Econfina Creek support a magnificent southern temperate hardwood forest. Situated on these high bluffs, these great trees are naturally protected from fire. Otherwise, these sites would be in longleaf pine. By protecting the purity of the water supply, the Water Management District also protects this exquisite and tree-rich plant community of up to 35 species of trees. This forest type has more trees than any other forest type in North America north of Mexico. Florida has more first magnitude springs than anywhere else in the United States and Canada. A first magnitude spring is 100 cubic feet per second flow or more. And look at the volume of water coming out of this gorgeous thing. This is Gainer Springs on Econfina Creek. Another of the wonderful features here is where this aquifer water coming out of the deep limestone conduits confluence with the tea-stained waters of Econfina Creek. A problem for a beautiful spring like this is love, too much love. The land under the water out there is sovereign land. It belongs to all the people of the United States. So you can come in here in a canoe and love it all you like, but getting out of the canoe, bringing your boats in here, causes huge amount of erosion when there are, literally tens or hundreds of people over a period of many years. And it has caused this bank to erode so much that attempts here to stabilize it have been made with concrete bags and the like, but still it hasn't been very effective. The Northwest Florida Water Management District, in partnership with the Department of Environmental Protection, is working with local landowners to try to address these problems. It is pretty. Well, I've been walking around looking for rattlesnakes in this habitat. Rattlesnakes are also native creatures in longleaf pine forests, and normally you'll find them by a gopher tortoise burrow, which I have right there, or by a stump hole. And let's see if we can get him to go back into his burrow. And it won't take much once he loses his attention on me. Let's see what I can get him to go back down his hole. There he goes. Look at that. Bye. The eastern diamondback is as much a native of this longleaf pine ecosystem as the red cockaded woodpecker, bobwhite quail, wild turkey, or the eastern kingsnake we saw. Here it is in a gopher tortoise burrow where in November, December, January, February, and sometimes a little bit of March, they spend the winter time because it's too cold for them on the surface of the ground. It's part of the biodiversity of Florida and the coastal plain where these beautiful longleaf forests occur. Unfortunately, they have been reduced to less than 2% of their original extent. So if we want to preserve and conserve the native environment and all those wonderful animals and plants that live in that habitat, we need to save some. Traveling just a few miles downstream, we discover some surprising topography. I'm sitting in a very special place. You don't expect in Florida to have high banks and steep slopes, but boy, there's one right here. I'm at least 25 feet above Econfina Creek. And down below, the river is doing something against the limestone that I'm sitting on that I'd like to show you. I got something to hold on. This is what I want to show you. I'm nestled up under a ledge in a notch that runs along the creek here. This is a contact zone between two different types of limestone, and it's along the contact zone, which is called a bedding plane, that water most works its way. That is where, miles inland behind me, rainwater coming down and hitting that contact zone will dissolve the tunnels and conduits in which the Floridan aquifer resides. And that beautiful water that comes out of the limestone into this river, mixing with the tea-stained waters, is what we drink. From here, it's not far to the end of Econfina Creek, where it enters the northern end of Deerpoint Lake. The importance of Deerpoint Lake cannot be underestimated. However, Bay County's growth has spurred the local water utility to explore additional groundwater sources.
The Bay County Utilities and Bay County Board of County Commissioners are working with the Northwest Florida Water Management District to develop an alternate redundant groundwater supply in the northwest section of the county. By having this alternate redundant supply, if something was to happen to the reservoir, either environmentally or from a hurricane or storm surge that would negatively impact the dam, we would have the ability to supply drinking water to the citizens of Bay County while we were restoring the reservoir or the dam.
And now we've come to the end of our journey. This is also the end of the journey of all that wonderful clean drinking water, which is backed up behind this dam made expressly for the purpose of impounding that water. I'm Bruce Means. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on the next Corridors of Life.